check it out. What? Yo, what? Come on, check it out. What? Yo, what? Come on, check it out. What? Yo, what? Come on, check it out. What?
Hey guys, take a look at her. She's the one, right? Wow. Yeah. Hot chili. Yeah. You guys did, right? Yeah. You are not including. It's ours. Shit. Maybe she might be at the corner. Maybe let's go, man. Where is she, man? I thought she might be at the corner. Yeah. Regarding microeconomics. Actually, we should learn today in class, but then we bunk the class. Hey, now. Hey, let's wake up. I'm damn tired. Let's go to level 4. Hey, Suren! Hey, Vishnu! Okay.
I'm tired.
Yes, sir.
So, now I'm... No, what's plan? Already bunked the class. Never go study also.
So, any idea?
The girls also miss already.
I have an idea.
Yes.
How about we play Monopoly?
Monopoly.
Monopoly.
Just now we left it outside, right?
Wait. I already got it with us. Are you kidding me? Take a look on me. Let's open it up. Okay.
Good to see you guys. Good to see you again.
Bro, who's that? Who are you? Who are you?
Hey! Who are you?
Oh my god! Please help me! Please help me!
Oh, let's run it.
My side, get up. And all of you also, get up. Hey guys, all of you, come and sit in front of me.
Actually, what do you want from us?
Hey guys, before I introduce myself, why did you bunk your class today?
Because today's topic was quite boring.
What topic is that?
Actually, we were going to learn about monopoly.
Hey,
Sorry guys.
why are you questioning us? And still now we don't know who you are.
Me? Actually, I'm the Mr. Monopoly.
Huh?
Welcome to the Investors Trading Academy talking glossary of financial terms and events. Our word of the day is monopoly. A monopoly situation is when a single company or group owns all or nearly all of a market for a given type of product or service. By definition, monopoly is characterized by an absence of competition, which often results in higher prices and inferior products. According to a strict academic definition, a monopoly is a market containing a single firm. In such instances where a single firm holds monopoly power, the company will typically be forced to divest its assets. Anti-monopoly regulation protects free markets from being dominated by a single entity. A pure monopoly is a single supplier in a market. For the purposes of regulation, monopoly power exists when a single firm controls 25% or more of a particular market. Governments may grant a firm monopoly status, such as with the post office, which was given monopoly status by Oliver Cromwell in 1654. The Royal Mail Group finally lost its monopoly status in 2006 when the market was opened up to competition. A monopoly could be created following the merger of two or more firms. Given that this will reduce the competition, such mergers are subject to close regulation and may be prevented if the two firms gain a combined market share of 25% or more. For example, if you want to buy a new automobile, and there's only one brand from which you can purchase your car, that brand will be considered to hold a monopoly. Monopolies are harmful because they allow one entity to set the price on goods without consideration for competitive, affordable pricing. This is because when there's a monopoly, there are no competitors. This leaves customers at the mercy of the monopolist. In the late 1990s, Microsoft faced several suits due to perceived violations of these antitrust laws. Had the Justice Department proved the company was in violation, Microsoft would have been forced to divide itself into subsidiaries in order to break up the potential monopoly. This is happening with Google in Europe at the present, and the most well-known case was in the US when the government forced the telephone companies to break into several regional businesses called Baby Bell.
Mr. Monopoly, please don't harm us. We mistakenly bunked our microeconomic class today.
Alright. But guys, I need a favor from you guys.
What's that?
Actually, today I'm going to start the monopoly lesson with all of you. Is that everyone agree?
Is that okay?
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Agree?
Yes.
Then let's start the game now. My son,
Yes, Mr. Monopoly.
roll the dice.
Alright.
Hi, how you doing, econ students? This is Mr. Clifford. Welcome to ACDC Econ. Right now we're going to talk about Monopoly. And no, we can't play that board game. I just hate that board game. Everyone just cheats. It just ruins families. You know how many divorces have been caused because of that board game? I'm assuming you've already learned a few things about monopolies. Like, for example, it has a unique good with no close substitutes, and that it's a price maker as opposed to a price taker like perfect competition. And the most important characteristic is that there's high barriers to entry, so other firms can't enter. That's what makes a monopoly stay a monopoly. Now let's go straight to the graph for a monopoly to help you understand what it looks like. In perfect competition, there's a horizontal demand curve that was equal to the marginal revenue curve. But it's not like that for monopoly. In fact, a monopoly looks like this. When you're a price maker, you can sell your product for a very high price, or you can sell it for a low price. You determine the price. But a monopoly can't price discriminate. So to sell another unit, they got to lower the price of the previous unit they could have sold for a higher price. So if a monopoly decides to charge $100, that's fine. But if they lower the price down to 90, they got to lower the price down to 90 for everybody. So they lose some money on the units they could have sold for $100. The point is the marginal revenue is less than the demand curve, and it looks like this. Now the marginal cost curve in the ATC is exactly the same as perfect competition. MC goes down and up, and ATC goes down, hits a minimum, then goes back up. And that is the graph for a monopoly. Now it's time to apply what you've already learned in previous videos to a monopoly. I want you to answer these 6 questions, pause the video, and then I'm going to go over them. Bam! What? To figure out the profit maximizing quantity, you do what you do for all firms. You find where MR hits MC. And on this graph, it's right here at Q1. But the price is not P6. You don't charge the price where it hits the marginal revenue. You charge what people are willing to pay, which is up here at P2. So for Monopoly, they produce where MR equals MC, and they charge a price up the demand curve, which is right there at P2. The total revenue is just the price times the quantity. And so it's this rectangle right here. It's the rectangle of P2, A, Q1, and Q0. So finding total revenue, total cost, and profit on the graph is exactly the same skill that you applied in perfect competition. To figure out the total cost, you're going to go up to the ATC and over, and so it's right there. And so what's left over must be profit, which is right there. So if this monopoly is making profit, are other firms going to enter in the long run and take away that profit? No, because there's high barriers. Remember, this is a monopoly. High barriers means they're going to make that profit in the long run. You remember that consumer surplus is the difference between what you're willing to pay and what you did pay for something. So for monopoly, consumer surplus is right there. It's the triangle P1A, P2. Now the revenue maximizing quantity is not Q1. Remember, Q1 is the profit maximizing quantity. If you want to maximize your total revenue, you're going to produce at Q2. This is a spot where marginal revenue hits 0. When your marginal revenue is going down, but it's still positive, that means your total revenue is going up. And when marginal revenue hits 0, your total revenue will be at a max. Now, why doesn't a firm decide to produce to maximize total revenue at Q2? Well, because they want to maximize profit where MR equals MC. Now, if you take this idea of total revenue and you connect it to something you've learned before called the total revenue test, you can spot the elastic and inelastic range. The elastic range of the demand curve is segment P1 to B, or you could have said any quantity less than Q2. The point is the elastic range is where MR is positive and the inelastic range is when MR is negative. This is because in the elastic range, the price is falling, but total revenue is going up, which is the whole idea of elastic demand. When the price is going down and total revenue is going down, well, that's the idea of inelastic demand. Did you get all that? Well, I have 4 more questions to help you understand the idea of monopolies. I want you to pause the video and try these 4 questions, then I'm going to go over them. What? I'm not sure I'm doing that move. Yeah! The socially optimal quantity, or the allocatively efficient quantity, is right there at Q3. This is a place where the price, what people are willing to pay, exactly equals the additional cost of producing those units. So society is saying, we want this many units. Before I answer the rest of the questions, let's go back and talk about the idea of socially optimal and being efficient. When this monopoly maximizes profit, are they going to produce Q3? Well, no. Remember we said they're going to produce Q1. And that's the reason why monopolies are inefficient, right? They cause dead weight loss. These are units society wants produced, but the monopoly is not going to make them because they'd rather produce where MR equals MC. So a monopoly produces too little output and charges too high a price, causing dead weight loss. Understanding that concept will help you understand question 8, right? Consumer surplus at socially optimal must be right here. It's the triangle of P1, C, and P4. This is the consumer surplus that would exist if this was a perfect competitive market and they're producing the socially optimal quantity of Q3. This also explains why the government might want to regulate a monopoly. If a monopoly has dead weight loss, well, they can put a price ceiling right here and force them to produce the quantity Q3 that's socially optimal. For question 9, there's only one quantity in the entire graph where the price equals the ATC and they're making no economic profit. It's right there at Q4. So Q4 is the only spot where total revenue equals total cost and they're breaking even. All right, last question. What's going to happen to price and quantity if there's a per unit tax? Unlike a lump sum tax, a per unit tax will shift the marginal cost, causing it to go up. So the new quantity where MR equals MC is there, causing quantity to go down and price to go up. So the answer is price goes up, quantity goes down. Remember, it's not the same if that was a lump sum tax. A lump sum tax is a one-time tax that affects fixed costs, so marginal costs wouldn't change. Price and quantity would stay the same if it was a lump sum tax.
Now it's your turn, Suren.
All right, Mr. Monopoly.
The genius of Bill Gates was to realize that there were lots of computer makers, but somebody had to get them to write for the same specifications. There had to be a standard operating system to essentially tame the Wild West of personal computers.
Windows quickly takes the computer business by storm. By the end of the 1980s, 80% of the world's computers use Microsoft's operating systems, making Bill Gates the world's youngest billionaire. But now, Gates goes even further. Microsoft starts to bundle additional programs with their operating systems. Now, anyone who buys a PC automatically gets Microsoft spreadsheets, word processors, and other programs, whether they want them or not.
Bill Gates is a genius at assembling all the parts that were needed to create the modern computer software industry. But he did it in a way that got his rivals to call him a monopolist, a bully.
By the mid-90s, Microsoft's aggressive tactics begin to backfire. Competitors accuse the software giant of monopolizing the industry.
The bundling of the software led to the Department of Justice investigating a lot of claims that Microsoft's business practices were unfair. They were, in fact, suppressing innovation in a marketplace. It squelches third-party software application development.
Yes, Safik.
Okay, Mr. Monopoly.
Hello, Mr. Vishnu.
Hi, Mr. Mahes.
Regarding our microeconomic topic, what's the difference between an employment and own business?
Yeah, quite well. The biggest difference between a job and a business is the fact that most business owners aren't in it just for the money. If you go to the same job from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., 5 days a week, you quickly begin to realize that you are just going for the money it brings. When you run your own business, you are normally in it because it is something you love and want to work hard to be successful at. This is the major difference between having a job and creating a business that you love. As a matter of fact, it would probably be easier for most business owners to hold down a job because they would have fewer headaches and work less hours. With that being said, below you will find some tips that will help you build your business instead of becoming a job with you as the tyrannical boss that looks back at you from the mirror.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Vishnu, for sharing your idea with us. In future, you're sure your idea useful to us.
Most welcome. God bless.
We're stressed out. My name's blurry face and I care what you think. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're
pretend, used to play pretend, bunny. We used to play pretend, wake up, you need the money. Used to play pretend, give each other different names. We would build a rocket ship and then we fly far away. Used to dream of outer space, but now they're laughing at the face, saying, wake up, you need to make money.